If you want to compete and win against the large consultancies as a small or independent consultant, then you absolutely have to understand positioning. It's one of those things that is commonly overlooked by consultants, but it's also the thing that separates the winners from everyone else. And I would like to believe that we would all agree that the reason the large consultancies are winning is not necessarily because they deliver better work or are smarter than the smaller consultancies. The reason they're winning is because of the way they're positioned in the mind of clients. So in this video, I'm going to give you the playbook you need to compete and win against the large corporations. And spoiler alert, it starts with positioning. Now, before we go into the rest of the video, I think it's important for us to proceed with a shared definition of the word positioning. And this is the simplest definition I could find. Positioning is the mental perception of a product or brand by customers. The keyword here is perception, because when we position ourselves, we're essentially giving our customers a blueprint on how to treat us, how to categorize us in their minds. Now, hold on to that definition because it's going to help us to understand what's working in favor of the large corporations. Most of the large consulting firms have been around for a very long time. Deloitte was founded in 1845. McKinsey was founded in 1926. PwC officially merged in 1998, but it comes from two firms, Pricewaterhouse and Coopers and Lybrand, both founded in the mid-1800s. If you do your maths right, you realize that all these companies I mentioned were founded over a century ago. That's 100 years of compounding trust, compounding credibility, and compounding relationships. So over time, that creates something that's impossible to replicate overnight. Institutional trust. And for those of us that don't know, institutional trust is when people trust the brand itself regardless of who's doing the work. For example, a Deloitte proposal carries a lot of weight, not necessarily because the client cares about who is leading the project or who's executing it. And that right there is the power of brand, because it's transferred trust from the people within the organization to the institution itself. And that's what's working for the large firms. Trust at scale. That's compounded over a century. Now, having said all of that, what if I told you that what took Deloitte over 100 years to build, you can build your version of that within a decade or less? First off, of course, what I'm not saying is that you can replicate a Deloitte within 10 years. What I meant by that statement is that level of trust, that level of institutional trust, you can absolutely build in 10 years. Because in 2025, the brand building playing field has been leveled thanks to tech and social media and now AI. Because it's much easier now than ever in the history of the world to get information to spread quickly. And the media tech is available to everybody on the playing field, from large consultancies to small consultancies to independent consultants. 100 years ago, if you wanted to build a brand, you needed access to traditional media, which was incredibly expensive. You needed to get past gatekeepers. You also needed to be part of certain networks that took decades to build. Today, the platforms that hold the large corporations also hold the small players in every market for free. LinkedIn and other social media platforms, YouTube, podcasts. One can say the playing field has never been more open. That said, though, the fact that everyone has access to these platforms doesn't automatically make the playing field level, and I'll explain why. It all comes down to the right strategy, and that strategy starts with your positioning. Because if you're creating content, but that content isn't backed by strategy, then you end up blending into the noise. With the right strategy, when you're creating content, that content will help you to solidify a positioning. It will help you to create a perception in the mind of your customers, like I said before, giving them a blueprint on how to treat you, on how to relate with you, on how to see you in comparison to your competitors. And if you do it correctly, it will separate you from the noise, it will help you to build brand equity, and it will help you to develop trust at scale. And that right there is how you level the playing field. So how do you position yourself to win against firms that are 100 times your size? To give you a one-sentence overview, you have to build authority in a concentrated area of expertise. The reason why it comes down to this, you can't out-corporate a corporation. If you try to play their game, you will lose every single time. The only way for you to win as a smaller player is to create your own lane. So I've broken down the playbook into 3 simple steps. Step 1 is to pick an area of specialty. Step 2 is to build authority in that area of specialty. And step 3 is to build and engage with a community. Let's get right into it. Step 1 is to specialize. My go-to phrase when it comes to picking an area of specialty is one problem for one avatar. You have to pick a problem you want to be known for solving and the kind of customer you want to be solving it for. The reason for this is there are nuances with each type of customer. For example, let's say I'm into developing networking infrastructure for companies. The networking infrastructure needs of a microfinance bank is different from the networking infrastructure needs of a global bank. And that's different from the networking infrastructure needs of a government agency. It's still networking infrastructure, but the nuances with each client is different. So you want to be known for solving one problem for one kind of clients, because then you can focus on those nuances. And by calling out those nuances and showing that you understand those nuances, you attract their attention a lot easier. It's far more potent as a small consultancy or an independent consultant to be seen as the go-to guys for networking infrastructure for microfinance bank than to just be a general networking person, because guess what? There are millions and millions of networking infrastructure people. But by positioning yourself as the go-to for one particular problem, for one particular avatar, you set yourself aside from the rest of the crowd. That's what good positioning looks like. You want to get to a point where when people mention your name, they immediately associate it with one particular problem that you solve and who you solve it for. So that's picking an area of specialization. Step 2 is to build authority in your chosen area of specialization. And you do that by publishing content consistently over a long period of time. We're talking 3, 5, 10 years. And you can use your content to help your audience to solve real problems, explain the mistakes they're making, share some frameworks, share insights, tell them stories from the field. The whole idea as a consultant is to demonstrate the way you think when it comes to solving problems. A lot of consultants tend to make the mistake of thinking that the role of content is simply to promote their services. But in fact, authority is built through education, and you educate through content. Because every time you publish something genuinely useful to someone, it's like depositing trust in the bank. You do that enough times over a long enough period of time, and that trust compounds, just like Deloitte's. Step 3 is to build a community. By the time you've built authority over a period of time, you're going to attract an audience to yourself. The reason we're building communities is because at a certain point, simply creating content won't be enough, because people will be looking for ways to build a deeper relationship with you. You have to create that avenue for them to do that. So the point of this is to give them something they cannot get on the timeline. And it's not for everybody, it's for the people who want a deeper relationship with you. So what's happening here is that now we've created an opportunity to build an even deeper level of trust with people. And if these people feel seen and served by you, not only will they follow your work, they will actually champion you. These are the people that will become your evangelists eventually. And when this happens, that's when real brand equity starts to take shape. If you're able to keep this up over the course of a decade, you will be the go-to consultant in your niche, and you will earn compounded trust, just like the giants. So if you take nothing else from this video, take this. In order to win as a small consultancy against the giants, you can't afford to play their game. They'll win every single time. You have to beat them at a different game. Like I said, you can't out-corporate a corporation. The big firms have built their dominance through 100 years of compounding trust, compounding reputation, and relationships. That said, you now have the tools to compress that timeline and develop your version of that trust in a shorter time span, but only if you're particular and strategic about your positioning. Because like we said, positioning determines how people see you, remember you, and refer to you. When you get that right, everything else will work in your favor because your content will land better, your offers will stick, and your reputation will spread. And all you have to do is to build authority in one area of specialty, serve the audience deeply, and build trust through consistency over a long period of time. And that's how small consultancies can dominate an area of specialty such that they get chosen even over the giants. Finally, before I go, if you found this video helpful, then you're likely to find the video that just popped up on your screen helpful as well. Also, if you like this video, kindly like the video, it's free, and drop a subscribe as well. As you can see, we're a tiny channel trying to grow. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section. I will respond. Until next time, guys, see you in the next one.